One of my all-time favorite Arcade1up cabinets was the Atari 12-in-1, but it wasn't always that way. Something happened that changed my mind, and that's what we're going to be talking about today. Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. My name is Justin. If you're new here and you like home arcade, hit that subscribe button, hit that like, because we like to talk about home arcade on this channel. But let's jump right into the video. So the Atari 12-in-1 came out in 2018 by Arcade1up, and it had a lot of issues. But Arcade1up eventually remedies those issues, and we're going to kind of break down and talk about that, and then to predict in the future what we think they're going to be coming out with, and I'm really excited about that possibility. So the Atari 12-in-1 has very different controls from all the other Arcade1up cabinets. It's got a spinner, and it's got a trackball, and it's got some buttons. They needed all this because the Atari 12-in-1 games don't have any joystick games, so they really wanted to make that the feel of that game to be like the original game, and so they put all these games together and they had to do various different controls, but originally had some quality control issues. First of all, the spinner. How people like a spinner is that when you spin it, it just keeps on spinning. So if you're playing a game like Tempest, you can have a lot of fun just spinning that and firing. It's a lot of fun when the spinner is good, but that's not what the original Atari 12-in-1 cabinet from Arcade1up was like. It was like a rotary dial. It was basically just a pot inside there that you were turning. It just wasn't right. But later they did release an update. You can actually buy a replacement, and there were some later versions of the cabinet that came out that had the newer version in it. And people that picked it up said it was a lot better. But what I ended up doing was buying a new spinner replacement from Glenn's Retro Show. You can get these on Amazon. It's about $50. Now, some people had to replace the trackball as well. I was not in that position. I could play the trackball games just fine. I was wondering if maybe my trackball wasn't very good, but I kept on playing it and pushing it to its limits, and I had no issues. But then later I ended up buying an upgrade kit. Again, I used the Glenn's Retro Show, but this time his trackball, and I put that in it, and it played it about the same as mine, so evidently my trackball from the original Arcade1up Atari 12-in-1 was not really having any issues, but, you know, some people had some issues. But what was cool about Glenn's Retro Show's trackball was how it glowed, and I thought that was actually a really cool thing. You know, sometimes I don't really like buttons that glow. It's kind of gimmicky, but like having a trackball that glows is really cool. So of course Arcade1up knows about all this, and they look at it and they scour the forums and try to figure out what customers want for that newer version. Well, a lot of people have been asking for a Tempest standalone cabinet like that looks like the original Tempest, and I think that is where Arcade1up is going with all of their cabinets, where they're making cabinets that look more like the original. And I hope they just keep on pushing that more and more. So what they need to do is come out with a new 12-in-1 cabinet. With the Atari titles, it would be good if we could get a good set of games. Like 12 games, that's a good number. In fact, if they re-released the cabinet with exactly the same 12 games, and pretty much the same control layout, but with upgraded buttons, you know, upgraded spinner, of course, and the upgraded trackball, but then it looks like Tempest. I think a lot of people would be interested in that, and there's a good clue that Arcade1up knows that, because here's a clip from the 1UP Weekly where John D., who is an SVP of Arcade1up, he kind of agreed with that. Let's roll the clip. Will there be a revisit of the Gen 1 cabinets for upgraded hardware like lit marquee, dip switches, and maybe Wi-Fi?
That's kind of a rule of thumb. We don't re-release anything the same way we did it the first time. We'll probably re-release a 12-in-1, but like in a Tempest format or something, and because I love that Tempest form factor.
Yeah. Well, Tempest is like, it's an iconic cabinet design. Are you saying that you'll try to like emulate the cabinet design a bit or replicate that cabinet design? Okay, because that'd be really cool. I think a lot of people loved that 12-in-1. There's some control, things could be better, but I mean,
the controls will be better though in this new 12-in-1. I think the idea though is to really get this at a $299 price point with no frills. It's something that we're looking at this line to be something with, if it's your very first cabinet, that you'll buy, and it won't come with a riser, it won't come with a lit marquee at $299, but then you likely can be able to get those upgrades via our website.
Sure.
And I think it's a good it's a good start for people to come in, and you know what happens once you get one of these cabinets in, you're gonna want to tinker with it, you're gonna want to upgrade it. But the idea is to kind of, I guess, re-release in some way these old cabinets at $299.
So there you go. I think it's going to happen. The question is when. And of course, the other question is, what games are they going to put on the Tempest cabinet? Will they swap out some of those games for different ones? Now, one of the other things that really excites me about Arcade1up coming out with a newer version of the Atari 12-in-1 is that the newer monitors are so much better on the newer cabinets. So if you go back to those original ones, it has some light bleed issues, it has some viewing angle issues, and the monitors are actually a 5x4 monitor, whereas the new ones are a 4x3. So they're actually got the aspect ratio right when it comes to, these games were ran on an original 4x3 CRT. And, when you digitize that and run it on an LCD, it looks a lot better when you're running it on a 4x3 monitor. But the light bleed on the original Arcade1up cabinet for Atari was something that it kind of bothered me, especially on the Atari 12-in-1, because a lot of those games have a very dark background. So the light bleed on the side really stands out. But if they put it with the newer monitor, it would look so good. That would look so much better. Even enough for me to want to buy the newer version, even though I have the older one. So that's kind of my plan. I think in 2021, they're going to go through this re-releasing of original cabinets. And I have to wonder, am I going to be selling off my original Arcade1up Atari 12-in-1 to get the newer version? And I might have to do that because I love those games and I think it's great. And the fact that they're improving in the quality, that's something that I have to consider in my upgrade process. Again, I've had this for about 2 years, and it's one of the cabinets that I play the most because, I don't know, probably because I suck at those games, so I can never beat them. So it's always just a game that I play for a little while, 15 minutes or so, and then, move on with my day, but it's something I come back to. And again, the game that I love a lot was Quantum, Tempest, and my daughter. She loves Major Havoc. She loves the idea. The Major Havoc has all these different, when you're playing the levels, it kind of goes into different views and stuff. You're kind of playing the character different, That game is a lot of fun too. But I want to know, what is your favorite game of the, the Atari 12-in-1 lineup? And would you like to see some different lineups? And of course, is Tempest the right cabinet to make, as a full mock-up? Would you want that in a 3/4 scale? Would you want that more fullish size? Of course, we want it to look more like that original. Are you okay if the controls are slightly different, right? Because you're going to want to play all the variety of games on it, so you're probably not going to want to match the control panel perfect to the original, the original Tempest. You're going to want both a spinner and a trackball. That's my opinion, but what's yours? That's all the time I have for today, so I'd love to hear from you. If this is the first time you've seen a video from me, please subscribe, and we'll see you guys on the next one. Take care, guys.